welcome, ladies, and thank you once again for joining us today. I think this is going to be a little interesting session, such a diverse panel, I think. Three very different verticals. I think marketers can take examples from very different experiences coming in from very different verticals. But I think one common thing, traditional media, how it has evolved in last half a decade. The consideration set or the discovery of the product started happening online, whereas the conversions are happening offline. So how did you think, the whole ecosystem changed and omni-channel strategies started making sense? How did you define those strategies? I think, Neha, we can start from you. How did this, Domino's always has been ahead of its curve. And how did this ecosystem kind of evolve in your mind? And what worked for you?
I think, Navneet, you rightly pointed out about the diversity. So I think one thing we need to be cognizant about is that omni-channel strategies will differ by industry, right? It depends on how your target audience is interacting with your brand across different channels. So earlier, for example, online used to be a source of information, a way to drive consideration, whether you want to, let's say, visit a certain restaurant. But post-pandemic, particularly, the QSR industry has seen a change, wherein online channel itself is a channel which can actually drive purchase. So there's purchase happening offline, there's purchase happening online. So the first and foremost thing is understanding that level of interaction. And then secondly, customizing your product offering to cater to that level of interaction, right? So I think my fellow panelists will also agree on we all have very different way that we're dealing with omni-channel strategies, but particularly for QSR, both the channels present avenues of purchase along with avenues of consideration and awareness. So now it's no longer about being there and driving awareness or having a good review. It's actually driving purchase across both channels and having the right partners, such as MoEngage and other channel partners who can help us drive that consumer seamlessly across different channels as well.
Thank you for the mention. Actually, again, used car business, I think, fairly new, not very traditional, probably digital first. But again, it kind of works like a traditional businesses because, again, the offline world is very different from online. How did it kind of pan out for you while making these strategies?
Before sharing about used car market, I really want to share an example which recently happened with me. I was interacting with one of the brand, right? And I was interacting with the customer support of there via chatbot, right? And while interacting with them, I was sharing my concern, but I was not able to register my complaint. The reason behind, because of the limited auto options available there. So after lots of to and fro, I was supposed to end my chat without raising my complaint, and immediately there is message popped up. Are you satisfied? Are you happy with the chat? Which I obviously clicked no, and then there is a call button popped up on the screen, and I called the customer care over there from the app itself. And when I landed to a call center, and the conversation happened this way. Hi, I'm Samara. How can I help you? Then I stated my problem that I wanted to raise this complaint, but I was not able to raise because of the limited option available on the chatbot. Can you help me? And the answer is, definitely, ma'am, but can you please share your mobile number with us? And I was like, mobile what? I'm a regular user of yours. I'm buying from your app on a daily basis. I was interacting with you via your chatbot, and I made a call from that bot only, and now you're asking me for my mobile number. Fundamental problem of disconnected online and offline world, right? So now in context to Spinny, we are selling a car. It's a high ticket value item and lots of emotions attached. Like my first car, meri bhi gaadi, or a gift to a mother, right? So traditional business translating into an online business, right? So, in our Spinny journey, by design, customer switches from online to offline modes frequently, right? So this is the omni-channel approach which is allowing us to have a high level of interaction at every touch point, right? So at any point, any of the interaction, we can't, let our buyers or users stand still and, can show the inconsistency in the journey, right? So omni-channel approach is must. The entire universe of the buyer are, moving towards the mobile apps, right? So the today mobile phone is not just a device, it's not a smartphone, it's basically industrial internet and internet of everything. So having an omni-channel approaches, and it's not about one piece, but stitching of multiple pieces together to create that delight factor for a customer is of utmost importance.
Great. And great ads I think Spinny is running right now. But yeah, you mentioned one very particular point that, customer experience. Because disconnected customer experience leads to a very bad view of the brand per se.
Right.
And that brings me to question, Nikita, in healthcare, it's a very up close and very, very personalized sort of service, right? How customer experience, driving customer experience from omnichannel becomes so important for you?
So I'll get to that, but allow me to share a small little story with you, if you'll indulge me a little. So imagine now I'm here and I meet my fellow panelists, and so Neha here, we were having a conversation before Meenakshi joined in. What if when I met her, what if I went and all of us have a personal space, do we not? So what if I went and stood right in front of her face, and by Jove, I'm tall. So imagine if I went and stood right in her face and I started talking about who I am, what I do, what I'm really good at, XYZ. The first feeling she's going to have is one of intense discomfort. I have already put her in a negative space about me. Currently, she is the consumer, I am the product. Now, think about if we have this panel discussion and we go back home and, everything is happy and everything, and then 10 days later or so, I send her a message saying that, hey, Neha, it was fantastic to sort of meet with you, touch base with you. It was a great discussion. And, we should stay in touch because it's interesting to see how we can talk about and leverage our knowledge, right? That's one. She may or may not respond. Let another 10 days go by and I'll tell her that, oh, you know what, I was reading this really nice article on the topic that we were discussing by Harvard Business Review. And it's interesting, it touches upon a couple of things that you and I discussed with the panel that day. And there are 2 new things as well there. So I sent that, and I thought it may interest you. I sent that to her. She may or may not respond, 10, 15 days pass again, and I message her once again, just message her, a WhatsApp message, whatever, that, a bunch of us are thinking of grabbing a cup of coffee and having a discussion on this subject. And, because we see a lot of churn happening within our space. What do you think this time Neha will do? She's going to turn around and she's going to say, hey Nikita, how are you? And, I think that might be a good idea. And let me know when this gets finalized and we'll go. We'll meet up. What did I do? Instead of choosing, now I'm in healthcare. And incidentally, I have been in healthcare for 11 years now, all of these 11 years with Fortis. So interestingly, the shift that I have seen, and it's a paradigm shift, from being and loving a traditional marketing campaign, go-to campaign. I realized digital was the need of the hour. We needed to move into the online space, and I had a lot of trouble just dealing with that. And then, of course, what you run away from is what you eventually end up falling in love with. And I realized that digital is the way. So what did I do in my own offering? If I'm the product and she's the consumer, I chose not to go at her with traditional loud advertising where we tend to talk about our product. And instead, I chosen to slide into her messages where she remains in control and she is able to reach out to me or respond to me when she thinks it is fit for her to do so. So I immediately empowered her as my customer or my consumer. And that is something that we pay very little attention to. Trust me, in healthcare, people do not want to come to you. They're not scouring websites and searching for who's the best doctor in Gurgaon or Delhi or Kolkata or Chennai. No, they're not. It is absolutely need-based. I just need to ensure that when they make that search, I'm available. So I hope that that's helped you understand, and we can talk about the transition. I mean, I have lots of case studies to share about how that transition has happened, but yeah, there it is.
Oh, that's
Thanks for indulging me, by the way.
Sorry. That's a lovely point. That small nudges at the right time with the right context becomes really important from a customer experience. And Omnichannel is all about that. MoEngage helps you with doing so. But truly, what are the kind of use cases, specifically multiple channels, multiple segments to be contextual messaging? What kind of use cases do you think is really important and has worked for your industry? Yeah, maybe you can start.
Sure. I think what both these examples, what Nikita shared and what Meenakshi shared, both the examples put one very important principle across, that both of them were customer first, right? You need to understand the need state of your customer in different channels. What is the need state of the customer in a QSR space when they are, let's say, purchasing offline? What is the need state of the customer when they are purchasing online? So if I'm ordering a pizza at home, is my need state a quick fix, a quick hunger fix, a quick home delivery solution? And that's where, you can amp it up with service credentials like 30 minutes delivery. Or understand, like in the pandemic, we saw a lot of takeaway channels come up, because people didn't necessarily want to sit in a restaurant and get exposed to the virus at that time. So a lot of people were just picking it up and taking it back with themselves. And so understanding what the customer needs and tailoring your product offering and tailoring what you have to offer, how you're communicating, what you're communicating accordingly is absolutely critical, right? Like you spoke about nudging at the right time. Should I nudge at a lunch hour, dinner hour, or should I bother the customer, throughout the day? Should I nudge at relevant points in time? A cricket match is going on and people, watch cricket and binge. That's a relevant touch point, and you're not in the face of the consumer like Nikita was saying. So understanding the consumer is where it starts, defining the objective accordingly, and then implementing your strategy, making your product offering relevant to the customer at that point in time is what's most important.
That's great. Again, Nikita, for you, what do you think are the few use cases specifically in healthcare? Not very traditionally and online. Like you said, somebody, when it needs someone to have some sort of consultation, then probably they look out, right? But if we have to engage with the customers proactively, what kind of use cases do you think has worked for you by omnichannel strategies?
So I'll share again, like I said, healthcare is a space that that allows me very little leeway, because the consumption of my service is always in the physical space. It's in the hospitals that we have, right? So how do I ensure now? So this is where I think if I was to, there is nothing positive about COVID except for the adoption of how fast we are able to take to new things, right? Innovation, I think breeding ground for any kind of growth. So what we saw was we were trying our level best to reduce the load on our doctors. We were trying to introduce the entire concept of virtual consults. And both my examples are interlinked. So we have outreach OPDs. So for instance, we're in a tier 1 city, and we have, in NCR at least, we have a very strong presence. We have 10 hospitals. So, but our doctors regularly move out to different tier 2, tier 3 cities. That is to be able to offer them the specialized approach and treatment plans that we have. And of course, then aid them in case somebody actually needs the help to come and get treated. So there are times when our doctors are not able to move out for that OPD. In such a scenario, we were struggling to, get our virtual consults concept off the ground. Cut to COVID. Suddenly, everybody who disbelieved कि अरे यार phone पे तो बात हो जाती है, वो तो आप उसको जानते हो, but doing a WhatsApp call or having a video call was completely unheard of. And suddenly, everybody was, bound to their homes. They could not move out. And we suddenly were able to roll out something that we wanted. And what did we do? What was the first thing people required when COVID hit? It was not that, do I have COVID? What is it? What does this mean? What is it that I have to watch out for? Is there anything that I can do which will help me control the situation? What if I see somebody, etc. There was information required.
Too many questions.
I'm sorry?
Too many questions.
Everybody was confused. I mean, none of us have been in a pandemic before, right? It was happening for the very first time. And understandably so. Apologies for that redundant comment. But, suddenly people just wanted access. And this is where the first thing we did was we set up helplines. We first reached out to them, asking them, do you need to know this? Is this something that's concerning you? Just call our helpline. So I did not want to sell my virtual consult. I did, sorry. But what did I do? I understood what the audience or my consumer wanted at that time, and what I offered was not the consult. I offered an answer to their question. I wanted to give them a little bit of peace of mind. हाँ मैं ये ठीक कर रहा हूँ. हाँ यार यही करना था. This is what I need to do. Right? So that's what we did, and therein, because that's the first step where we started, and our communication was, nobody was reading a newspaper. What was I going to do? Everybody was on their phones. So everything that I stood for, I started again very sweetly, very quietly, just sliding into people's messages and WhatsApps, the people that had already come to us, only those, not without permission. And of course, we targeted them digitally. And the second thing that I want to move on to is the outreach OPDs that I spoke of. We realized that people were far more open to now consulting with our doctors in a virtual space. This is, of course, post-COVID, right? So cut to post-COVID, they had become comfortable, but now when doctors started, sorry, just give me a second. Apologies, the pollution has given me a bit of a frog throat. So now when they had to go back, I utilized the very same medium that I had. Traditionally, I was doing ads and hoardings and SMSs in those target areas. I started reaching out to people on Facebook. I started reaching out to people on WhatsApp. And if I was to give you numbers, we started at a 0, but what we observed from a revenue perspective was 20x. What we observed from an engagement perspective is about, sorry, my apologies, I mixed the numbers. From a revenue perspective is about 14 to 15x. From an engagement perspective is about 20x. So there you go.
Yeah, well, that's a great number. And Meenakshi, that brings me to another question for you. Use cases, defining use cases is one thing, but then aftermarkets also kind of, used car business kind of grew during the pandemic, right? We saw a dip and then suddenly the whole automobile market kind of started growing. How important was it for you to define different use cases to drive certain business goals? And what are those use cases brought an impact on the business? Something I think we were talking about downstairs as well. The certain impact that you could see because of these strategies.
One thing that pandemic has done to the used car market or the mobility, there is an immediate realization among the customers of personal mobility. because of the lockdowns and collapsed infrastructure, there was a huge need arises कि नहीं, अपना vehicle तो चाहिए, we need a personal mobility of our own because of the uncertainty. So there is a sudden, मतलब, against the market dynamic, there is a sudden rise in the demand of a used car market after pandemic, right? So again, if I talk about data, again, coming on the topic online to offline and offline to online, as per the Deloitte report, still only 10% of the customer wants to have the fully virtual car buying experience, and 21% of the customer wants partial virtual experience. So there is a huge chunk of customer while buying a car, they want to physically see the car and test drive the car before making any buying decisions, right? So by design, again, if I talk about in context to Smini, by design, the journey is designed in the way wherein customer is switching constantly from online to offline and offline to online modes, right? So where technology plays a vital role, because at individual level, maybe every business unit or every touch point is delivering the best of the experience. But if we see the journey as a whole, maybe there are inconsistency. So technology plays a vital role over here to stitch all the pieces and to deliver a world-class experience to a customer, right? So as again rightly said, it's not about the marketing strategy only, it's all about, connecting it with the smart CX strategies also. My favorite one-liner, always I speak it a lot in my meetings also, to gain customer attention, we should stage our experiences worthy of attraction, right? So this is
That's a great statement. And all these omni-channel strategies are enabled by data, like you said, and technology. But I think the market is so cluttered. There's so many solutions available. One is evaluating the right stack becomes a difficult problem. And after that, doing a value creation of the stack, I think, another big challenge, which I think marketers face. Any insights on that? How did you manage that?
Definitely tools do let us know that what is happening, right? Definitely we get to know what is happening, but it's your internal business insights which let you know why it is happening. So definitely tools are damn important, and what tools to choose from is definitely depends on your internal tech also, right? So what technology we are using and whether we are able to, integrate tools to our current technology, that actually matters a lot. But one thing is non-negotiable. Yes, we require such tools, features on our current layer, because right now there is so much available in the market which can integrate with your current stack so well and give a seamless experience to our customers, right? So I'm a core believer of that you have to really decide on the basis of the construct of your current tech structure, that what pieces you need to integrate, what you want to really build and what you want to buy, right? So for example, the tools which are available, the features which are available, they can easily tell you like what path customer is taking to navigate the app, right? Opening and time and frequency of opening and closing of app. How his current journey is different from his previous journey, right? What actions, specific actions he is performing, or what CTAs he are clicking. And my intelligence layer over that, the Spinny's layer, if I talk about the why answer, ki which category cars he or she is browsing, what price point he is looking at currently, which cohorts he belongs to. Is he a first-time buyer or a repeated buyer? Is he, still in a discovery phase, or, looking forward to going forward for a test drive? So this technology enables us to give a more personalized experience to our customer, which leads to great customer experience, improves customer retention, enabled users, more engaged customers, and exactly, today is the word of hyper-personalization, and we all requires that, because really this is a simple ask of a customer. As I shared in my example also, at least know me, know my unique preferences, and cater me accordingly to create that customer delight.
Neha, I mean, you are in a business of very fast-moving product, right? It's sometimes impulse, it's sometimes experience. I mean, there are multiple ways people consume that. Has to be powered by technology. But at the same time, the bigger question, like I said, is how do we really understand the impact of the same? How do I really understand that investments that I have made are actually giving me returns?
Navdeep, like you rightly said, there are these diverse need states that exist, right? Is it an impulse buy? Is it a consideration generation exercise? So I think to measure the impact of any activity, we need to be extremely sure of the objective that the activity was set out to. So if the objective is awareness driving and I'm measuring the impact in terms of how many people, let's say, who got a push notification went to a Domino's store, I'm not looking at the right metric. So firstly, I think, as all marketers sitting here, we need to be very, very crystal clear in terms of defining the objective that we have, and then look at a relevant metric. And these days, there's no dearth of data. We have too much data. So looking at the right metric and seeing whether a campaign or an initiative or a strategy has delivered to that metric or not. There can be metrics of brand perception, awareness, consideration, imagery, brand equity. There can be metrics of revenue. And there are obviously efficiency metrics as well. So these are three broad buckets, but which metric you look at purely depends on how you've defined the objective of your strategy or of your campaign.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point. A lot of time we make investments by looking at a tool or a feature. It sounds exciting, it's new age, so we want to bring that to our business and talk about it probably in the market. But I think sometimes it's important to understand the business use cases while defining the tech stack. Now, Nikita, that brings me to the question, in healthcare, like you said, completely traditional. Probably the belief on digital ecosystem was not that great 5 years ago, but how did it panned out here? And then how did you really measure the impact of your investments into tech?
So before I get into any impact, as a marketer, what I think all of us need to understand is that marketing does not exist in silos. There are two spaces which go hand in hand. We all move together. One is service excellence, and the other is customer satisfaction. And one of the biggest lessons in healthcare, considering the product that it is, I think the first and foremost is customer satisfaction. Whatever I do is null and void if my customer is not satisfied with what I'm doing. And for this purpose, before this session, I was listening to Krish and Ashish talking, and I think one of them spoke about the amount of data that is available to us. I think even Neha alluded to it right now. We have so much data, we do not know what to do with it. I think the numbers that he mentioned was, he says, 3,000 data point hote hain hamare paas, unko chodo. Right? You pick on 2 or 3. I completely agree. Which is the reason why my marketing metric will work when my customer satisfaction metric and my service excellence metric is going to function. Everything that I do. And by the way, healthcare is very nascent to the omnichannel. We've started practicing it, not the easiest, but we're working very hard to sort of get into the whole tech space and automate as much as possible, because the insight from the various data points that we have is that the customer is king, we know that. But when I talk about the value that I offer, the benefit that I offer. Otherwise, everything's redundant. So coming back to the way I would measure it, so it becomes very obvious for me from a marketing standpoint what is imperative for me. Footfalls, right? But from a customer perspective, it is his or her experience, and that's where the customer satisfaction scores come in. And if I talk about the service excellence, Net Promoter Score, how willing are you to tell people about my brand? And as healthcare, as Fortis, there are only 2 things that will help me ensure that my Net Promoter Score is high. trust, and the trust will come with the consistency that I exhibit. If I am consistent, you are going to end up saying that, yeah, I can rely on this. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's time also. But then I still have a question. But a great point that you made. Omni-channel strategy is one way to kind of support the business and transaction or revenues. But also it's so important to bring a right experience to the customer so they stay loyal to you. But I'm going to throw one last question and let's have a quick one on this. What do you think really work? Tech investments, how do they really work? What kind of support do you require, right, to make it a success? Like, is it internal, external, from the vendors, from what do you think really is a key to kind of make it work?
For me, one basic key: be customer first in your thinking. Understand the customer, your strategy will work.
Great.
I feel like the two things that he asked, the first, like quick, was totally directed at me. So I felt very seen at that time because I felt that maybe the number of words that I used were too many. Sorry about that, Navdeep. You're having to listen to me yap on. But I'm a passionate marketer, and I think I'm going to second Neha and what I said in the previous thing. Marketing is about customer experience. If you'll indulge me for like literally 40 seconds, I was on an Indigo flight and I wasn't happy with the previous 2 times I had flown. And this time around, I asked her, there was turbulence and I was a little jittery. I wasn't too happy, maybe early morning wake-up call. This flight attendant, we were flying to Srinagar. The flight was an hour and 10 minutes long. And I ask her that, can I have a cup of coffee? She makes it for me, and then the ding, isme chini hai? She said, yes, ma'am. I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't want it because I don't have sugar. That girl was so troubled, the flight attendant. She was so troubled, but she says, just give me 5 minutes. I need to wrap up these other people. I'm going to get your black coffee to you, but it'll be black. We don't have anything, milk separate. I said, that's fine. Indigo's line, I am 16 going on 17. I was humming that. I was so happy. It's that whole concept of your heart aflutter at that time. Could have been the black coffee or could have just been the warmth. She took care of me. And I believe in Indigo all over again, right? Despite the previous 2 bad experiences, that's all I work towards. As a marketer, my customer and how they perceive me and what they want from me is what I want to give them. That's what's important to me. Thanks so much for listening.
Thank you. Meenakshi, you have anything to add on this?
For me, every day and night, I'm just, it's an example that I have to wear a customer hat in each and every meeting of ours. It's the voice of a customer and a voice of analytics, which combines and, enables us to frame right strategies to enable and to deliver the best of the class experience we want to deliver to our customers.
Great. Thank you so much, ladies. And customer first is one of our core values. I think we like to do justice to that as well. Neha, you've been a customer and an amazing one. So thank you so much for being on the panel. And thank you so much, guys, for listening to us. Have a huge round of applause for our panelists.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much.